Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks. Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Continuing Education, Bachelor's Degree Program, Elective Course, Rural Development, BRDE 101 Rural Development, Indian Context, Block 5 WOS and NGOs in Rural Development, Unit 2 Women and NGOs. 2.0 Aims and Objectives. In this unit you can find policies and schemes for the women. Programs are being run by various departments of the government and through non-governmental organizations, NGOs. Exclusive detail on NGO is not given. Involvement of NGOs is mentioned in various schemes because most of the schemes for the women are being run through the NGOs. Furthermore, NGOs run by women themselves are being encouraged to implement such schemes. After studying this unit, you will be able to explain constitutional provisions for women, discuss the empowerment of women through national policies, programs and mission, explain various schemes emanated by the governments, and explain various schemes implemented through non-governmental organizations. 2.1 Introduction. Women constitute about 48.2% of the total population of India. Women constitute a valuable human resource and their socio-economic development is imperative for sustainable growth of the economy. It has been globally accepted that the goals of human development are closely intertwined with development and empowerment of women. Therefore, our laws, development policy, IES, plans and programs should be aimed at women's advancement in different domains. The Indian Constitution, in its preamble, fundamental right, fundamental duties and directive principles, respected for principle of gender equality. The Government of India has been continuously striving towards all-round well-being, development and empowerment of women. The planning process has also evolved over the years from purely welfare-oriented approach to recognizing women's centrality in the development process, cutting across all sectors. 2.2 Equality before law. Indian Democratic Polity, Constitution, 1 Laws and legislations, developmental policies and programs have aimed at women's advancement in different spheres. India has ratified various international conventions and human rights instruments striving to secure equal rights for women. Some important constitution provisions and initiatives related to it are as following. 2.2.1 Constitutional Provision for Women. Article 15 The state shall not discriminate against any citizen. Nothing in this article prevents the state from making any special provision for women and children. Article 15(1) prohibits discrimination against any citizen on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex etc. Article 15(3) species provision enabling the state to make affirmative discriminations in favor of women. Article 39(a) The state shall set its policy towards securing all citizens men and women, equally, the right to means of livelihood. Article 39(d) Equal pay for equal work for both men and women. Article 42 The state to make provision for ensuring just and humane conditions of work and maternity relief. Article 51 A.E. To renounce the practices derogatory to the dignity of women. 2.2.2 Specific targets for women and children in the 11th Plan Document 2007 to 2012 raised the sex ratio for age group 0 to 6 from 927 in 2001 to 935 by 2011-12 and to middle 950 by 2016-17. Ensure that at least 33% of the direct and indirect beneficiaries of all government schemes are women and girl children. Reduce IMR from 57 to 28 and MMR from 3.01 to per 1000 live birth. Reduce malnutrition among children of age group 0 to 3 to half its present level. Reduce anemia among women and girls by 50% by the end of 2011-12. Reduce dropout rate for primary and secondary schooling by 10% for both girls as well as boys. 2.2.3 National Policy for Empowerment of Women, 2001. The National Policy for Empowerment of Women, NPEW, came into existence in 2001. Policy expresses goal of addressing women/felt needs and bringing about their advancement, development and empowerment. The policy laid down detailed prescriptions to address discrimination against women, strengthen existing institutions which includes the legal system, provides better access to healthcare and other services, equal opportunities for women's participation in decision-making and mainstream gender concerns in the development process. The NPEW is a comprehensive framework which is progressive and forward-looking in nature. In the coming years, the Ministry proposes to undertake the formulation of a plan of action to implement the national policy through an intensive cumulative process. 2.2.4 National Mission for Empowerment of Women. MINI-Y.TRI of Women and Child Development launched National Mission for Empowerment of Women, NMEW, on 8th of March, 2010. This mission would provide the much required fillip for a coordinated assessment of current government interventions and aligning future programs so as to translate the NPEW prescriptions into reality. The objective of the mission is to empower women socially, economically and educationally by securing convergence of schemes/programs of different ministries/departments of Government of India as well as state governments. The key functions of the national mission are: economic empowerment of women, convergence of women-centric government schemes, ensure that violence against women is eliminated progressively, ensure social empowerment of women with particular emphasis on health and education, oversee gender mainstreaming of programs, policies, inslit middle-directional arrangement and processes all participating ministries, institutions and organizations, undertake awareness generation as well as advocacy activity to fund the demand for benefits under various schemes and programs and create, if required, structures at district, tehsil and village level with the involvement of panchayats for their fulfillment. 2.3 Schemes for the empowerment of women. Several schemes and programs have been implemented for the empowerment of women. Some of them are as following. 2.3.1 Rajiv Gandhi Scheme for Empowerment of Adolescent Girls, Rghsyag, Sabala. Adolescent girls, 11 to 18 years, in India constitute nearly 17% of the country's population and are a core resource for national growth. Investment in their health and development translates to investment in the greater well-being of the country. According to NFHS 3, the percentage of anemia among adolescent girls, 15 to 19 years, is 55.8%. A large proportion of girls, 47%, get married before the age of 18 years, which exposes them to risk of early pregnancy, sexually transmitted infections, early childbirth, etc. Even though the number of girls marrying before the legal minimum age at marriage of 18 years is on the decline, the number is still sizable. There is need for influencing health-seeking behavior of adolescent girls and addressing adolescent-specific issues with specific strategies and interventions. For achieving this objective, Government of India has recently introduced the Rajiv Gandhi Scheme for Empowerment of Adolescent Girls, Sabala. The scheme is to be piloted initially in 200 districts across the country. In the remaining districts, Kishori Shakti Yojana, KSY, where operational, would continue as before. Nutrition Program for Adolescent Girls, NPAG, would cease to operate as all the districts of NPAG have been incorporated in Sabala. Sabala is to be implemented through the state government/UTs with 100% financial assistance from the central government for all inputs other than nutrition provision, for which 50% central assistance to states is provided. Anganwadi Center are the focal point for the delivery of the services. Emphasis on Convergence 01 various schemes/programs viz. Health, education, youth affairs, labor, etc. is envisaged so as to achieve the desired impact. The scheme aims at improving the health and nutrition status besides equipping the girls on family welfare, health hygiene, etc. and information and guidance on existing public services. The focus of the scheme is on out-of-school girls.
You are listening to this audiobook on Audio Learn IGNOU 2.3.2 Indira Gandhi Matritwa Sahayog Yojana, IMSI. This is a new scheme introduced in 2010 by the Ministry of Women and Child Development for pregnant and lactating P&L women, keeping in view the need for giving maternity benefit to them so as to compensate partly for their wage loss and at the same time for fulfillment of conditions essential for ensuring safe delivery and promotion of infant and young child feeding practices. Thus, the payments under THI scheme will be conditional. The scheme is being implemented from 2010-11 in 52 pilot districts across the country. To begin with, scheme is using the ICDS Platform 1 and will cover approximately 14 lakh women in the initial years. IMSI is a centrally sponsored scheme under which amount will be given as grant in aid to state government/union territories. An amount of 101 crore has been released for IMSI up to 28 February 2011. A cash incentive Cf 4,000 is to be provided under the scheme to P&L women of 19 years of age and above, for the first 2 live births, subject to the woman fulfilling specific conditions relating to maternal child health and nutrition. All government/PSUs central and state employees would be excluded from the scheme as they are entitled for paid maternity leave. Cash incentive would be provided in 3 installments, between the second trimester of pregnancy till the infant completing 6 months of age as under 2.3.3 Financial assistance and support services to victims of rape. Rape is one of the most violent forms of crimes against women, which not only impacts her bodily integrity but impairs her capacity to develop meaningful personal and social relationships and affects her life and livelihood. The Ministry of Women and Child Development has formulated a scheme Financial assistance and support services to victims of rape to provide a helping hand to enable her to cope with the trauma suffered and to tide over her immediate and long-term needs. It is based on the principle of restorative justice and seeks to restore the affected woman to a position of dignity and self-confidence. The scheme proposes to cover women and minor girls who are victims of rape. The scheme also envisages the setting up of criminal injuries relief and rehabilitation boards at the district, state and central levels for consideration of claims and ensuring effective coordination between all stakeholders. The scheme has been approved by the Expenditure Finance Committee and is awaiting approval of the Planning Commission. 2.3.4 Support to Training and Employment Program for Women, STP. STEP, a central sector scheme launched in 1986-87, seeks to upgrade skill of poor and asset-less women and provide employment on sustainable basis by mobilizing them in viable cooperative groups, strengthening marketing linkages, Super-1T services and access to credit. The scheme also provides for enabling support services in the form of health checkups, legal and health literacy, elementary education, gender sensitization and mobile creches. The ultimate endeavor of each project is to develop the group to thrive on a self-sustaining basis in the marketplace with minimal governmental support and intervention even after the project period is over. With a view to expanding the reach of the program and further strengthening implementation and monitoring, Norm 1S and parameters of the STEP scheme have been revised in the year 2009. Under the revised norms of the scheme, the per capita cost has been enhanced to 16,000/ minimum no. of beneficiaries for a project reduced to 200, project duration extended up to 5 years and focally appropriated sectors introduced. Since inception, around 250 projects have been provided financial assistance under the scheme. The 10 traditional sectors identified for project funding under STEP comprise of agriculture, animal husbandry, dairying, fisheries, handlooms, handicrafts, khadi and village industries, sericulture, wasteland development and social forestry. The scope and coverage of the scheme is being broadened with introduction of locally appropriate sectors being identified and incorporated into the scheme. Check your progress. 1. Describe in brief national policy for empowerment of women. 2. What are salient features of STEP? 2.3.5 Hostel for Working Women. The scheme of Hostel for Working Women envisages provision of safe and affordable hostel accommodation to working women, single working women, women working at places away from their hometowns, and for women being trained for employment. The I scheme has been revised with following salient features. Financial assistance for construction of hostel building to be given only on public land. Financial assistance available for rent of the hostels run in rented premises also. Provision for maintenance grant of hostel building, maximum 5 lakh, and one-time non-recurring grant for furnishings, at 7,500 rupees per beneficiary. State government agencies, urban municipal bodies, cantonment boards, civil society organizations, Panchayati Raj middle. Institutions, self-help groups, recognized colleges/universities, and corporate or associations like CHI, ASSOCHAM and FICCLE included under the Revi DESCL-1M. Since its inception in 1972-73, under this scheme, 891 hostels have been sanctioned under the scheme all over the country, benefiting about 66,299 working women. 2.3.6 Swadhar, a scheme for our women in difficult circumstances. Swadhar scheme was launched by the ministry in 2001-02 for the benefit of women in difficult circumstances with the following objectives: to provide primary need of shelter, food, clothing and care to the marginalized women/girls living in difficult circumstances who are without any social and economic support. To provide emotional support and counseling to rehabilitate them socially and economically through education, awareness etc. To arrange specific clinical, legal and other support for women/girls in needs. To provide helpline or other facilities to such women in distress. Widows deserted by their families and relatives. Women prisoners released from jail and without family support. Women survivors of natural disaster who have been rendered homeless. Trafficked women/girls rescued or run away from brothels. Women victims of terrorist/extremist violence who are without any family support and without any economic means for survival. Mentally challenged women, except for TIE psychotic categories who are without any support of family or relatives, and women with HIV/AIDS deserted by their families and without social/economic support. 2.3. 7 Ujjwala, scheme for combating trafficking. A comprehensive scheme to combat trafficking was launched by the Ministry on 4th December 2007 and is being implemented mainly through NGOs. The scheme has 5 components: prevention, rescue, rehabilitation, reintegration, and repatriation of trafficked victims for commercial sexual exploitation. Some of the activities under the scheme are: formation of community vigilance groups, adolescents groups, awareness creation and preparation of IEC material, holding workshops, etc., safe withdrawal of victims from the place of exploitation. Rehabilitation of victims by providing them safe shelter, basic amenities, medical care, legal aid, vocational training and income generation activities. Reintegration of victims into society. Providing support to cross-border victims for their safe repatriation to their country of origin. 2.3.8 The Central Social Welfare Board. The Central Social Welfare Board, CSWB, was set up by a resolution of Government of India on 12th of August, 1953 with the objective of promoting social welfare activities and implementing welfare programs for women and children through voluntary organizations. The state social welfare boards were set up in 33 states and union territories to work together with St. Rhodes Social Welfare Board in implementing programs of the board across the country. It is functioning as an interface between government and the voluntary sector. The board has been making concerted efforts for empowerment of women through family counseling program, short stay home, awareness generation, condensed course of education program and other support services. The board was registered as a charitable company in 1969 in order to give it legal status.
You are listening to this audiobook on Audio Learning GNU. Family Counseling Centers. Under the scheme of Family Counseling Center, FCC, which was introduced by Central Social Welfare Board in 1983, counseling, referral and rehabilitative services are provided to women and children who are victims of atrocities, family maladjustment, and social ostracism. FCC also provides trauma counseling services to women and children in case of disaster or crisis. The program of Family Counseling Center is implemented through voluntary organization 1NS. The identification and recommendation of the voluntary organizations is done through the state social welfare boards. About 50% FCCs are functioning in 7 major states: Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. The centers work in close collaboration with the local administration, police, courts, legal aid cell, etc. These centers also create awareness and mobilize public opinion on social issues affecting status of women. Over 200 FCCs have been declared service providers by the state governments and 15 counselors have been declared protection officers under the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, 2005. Short Stay Homes. The Central Social Welfare Board implements the scheme of Short Stay Home, SSH, of Ministry through voluntary organizations across the country. The objective of the scheme is to rehabilitate women and girls who are facing social, economic and emotional distress due to family problems, social ostracism, exploitation, violence, being forced into prostitution or are in moral danger. Temporary accommodation, maintenance of the inmates and rehabilitation services are provided to help these women and girls to join mainstream. Besides this, institutional services like counseling, guidance, medical and psychiatric support is provided to the needy. The scheme has an inbuilt component of 10% increase for rent every year and 15% under maintenance of inmates every 3 years. About 60% homes are functional in 6 major states of Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal. Awareness Generation Program. The scheme of Awareness Generation Program aims to empower women by providing knowledge on important issues relating to status of women, female feticide, domestic violence, trafficking, drug addiction, low sex ratio, etc. For this purpose, awareness generation camps are organized through voluntary organizations already working for the welfare of women and children. Voluntary organizations intending to organize the awareness generation program first conduct a survey of the area and identify local problems and issues to be addressed and also select target groups. These voluntary organizations are identified and recommended by state boards for sanction of grant in aid. Condensed Course of Education for Women. The scheme of Condensed Course of Education aims to provide educational opportunities to women/girls above 15 years who could not join the mainstream education system or drop out from formal schools. Under the scheme, additional inputs of skill development/vocational training are also provided. The contents of condensed courses are modified according to the requirements of women. The courses are organized through voluntary organizations engaged in the field of women's welfare and education which are identified and recommended by the state boards for sanction of grant in aid. Rajiv Gandhi National Creche Scheme. CSWB has been implementing the Rajiv Gandhi National Creche Scheme for the children of working mothers. This is a scheme of the Ministry of Women and Child Development under which assistance is provided to NGOs for running creches for children 0 to 6 years. With increased opportunities for employment for women and the need to supplement household income, more and more women are entering the job market. With the breaking up of the joint family system and the increase in the number of nuclear families, working women need support and care for their young children while they are at work. As per the approved norms of the scheme, Rs 42,384/ is provided for a year for one creche unit of 25 children. Integrated Scheme for Women's Empowerment, ISWE. The Integrated Scheme for Women's Empowerment for Northeastern states has been formulated to address the socio-economic needs of the women and children of selected 8 most backward districts in the region. The scheme is being implemented on the pilot basis from 2008 and has the middle objective of meeting the felt needs of the area by mobilizing community action, converging available services and resources of the area, income generation through feasible and sustainable activities for women, and providing services for health awareness, career counseling, vocational training, to prevent child trafficking and other social evils. Mother NGO has been identified to support, guide and monitor the community_based groups, CBGs, for enabling them to finalize the activity and implementation of the projects. Since its inception, 112 motivational camps have been organized, which resulted in formation of 167 CBGs. So far 10 projects covering 426 members of CBGs have been sanctioned in the states of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Nagaland. The National Commission for Women (NCW) was constituted on 31st of January 1992 as a statutory body, in pursuance of the National Commission for Women Act, 1990, to safeguard the interests of women. It has a wide mandate covering almost all aspects of women's development, to investigate and examine the legal safeguards provided for women under the Constitution and other laws, and recommend to government measures for their effective implementation, review the existing provisions of the Constitution and other laws affecting women, and recommend amendments to meet any lacunae, inadequacies or shortcomings in such laws. Look into complaints and take self-motivated notice of matters relating to deprivation of women's rights, etc., and take up such issues with appropriate authorities. Take up studies/research on issues of relevance to women. Participate and advise in the planning process for socio-economic development of women. Evaluate the progress made thereof. Inspect jails, remand homes, etc., where women are kept under custody, and seek remedial action wherever necessary. 2.3.9 Schemes under Rashtriya Mahila Kosh. The National Credit Fund for Women, known as Rashtriya Mahila Kosh (RMK), was set up by the Government of India in 1993, with a corpus of 31 crore, as a national-level organization under the Ministry of Women and Child Development to meet the credit needs of poor and asset-poor women in the informal sector. Rashtriya Mahila Kosh extends microfinance services through a client-friendly and hassle-free loaning mechanism for livelihood activities, housing, micro-enterprises, family needs, etc., to bring about the socio-economic upliftment of poor women. Credit is disbursed to the poor women beneficiaries, both rural and urban, through intermediary organizations, EMOs, working at grassroots levels such as NGOs, women federations, cooperatives, not-for-profit companies registered under Section 25 of the Companies Act, and other voluntary/civil society organizations. Loan Promotion Scheme. Rashtriya Mahila Kosh provides smaller loans, maximum up to 5 lakh rupees, to promote the activity of thrift and credit, and 10 new and smaller but potentially capable organizations having at least 6-month experience in formation of SHGs, thrift, credit and recovery management. 2. Main Loan Scheme. EMOs having minimum of 3 years experience in thrift and credit activities are considered under the scheme for loan up to a maximum of 300 rupees lakhs at a time. 3. Revolving Fund Scheme. Organizations having 5 years experience in the field of microcredit with a satisfactory track record are considered under this scheme. The organizations can revolve principal MMNT sanctioned by Rashtriya Mahila Kosh for income generation activities among the self-help groups. Maximum loan up to 300 rupees lakhs can be given under this scheme. 4. Refinance Scheme. Rashtriya Mahila Kosh provides 100% refinance assistance to Mahila Urban Cooperative Bank on finances provided by them to poor women either directly or through SHGs within the norms of the RMK Main Loan Scheme. Repeat Loan. Repeat loan is also available to the organizations on successful utilization of first loan and the borrowing organization having repaid 50% of its last loan. Franchisee Scheme. Smaller NGOs of the state can avail loan directly from franchisee appointed by Rashtriya Mahila Kosh for that particular state without sending their proposal to Rashtriya Mahila Kosh office. Rashtriya Mahila Kosh gives the credit limit up to 500 lakh rupees to the franchisee who in turn extend loan to smaller and potential NGOs in the state. 7. Gold Credit Passbook Scheme. This scheme of providing hassle-free finance has been designed for medium and large NGOs so as to revolve the fund sanctioned by RMK for 3 years. Maximum credit limit under this scheme is 500 lakh rupees. 8. Housing Loan Scheme. Through its partner organizations, RMK provides loans up to a maximum Rs 50,000 per beneficiary to SHG members for construction of low-cost houses and repairs. 9. Family Loan Scheme. Rashtriya Mahila Kosh extends loans for family-related needs such as medical needs, marriage, education, funeral, birth, festivals, religious occasions and purchase of food grain, foodstuff, ration and clothing. The aggregate amount of loan for all purpose put together should not exceed 7 times of savings of the beneficiary or Rs 10,000 per year, whichever is less. The application for a family loan has to be submitted as a part of the main loan scheme. X. Working Capital Term Loan, WCTL. WCTL is provided to the organizations for backward and forward marketing linkages of products of women SHGs/individuals and group of entrepreneurs. Check your progress too. 1. Describe the objective of short stay home. 2. Describe important features of Rashtriya Mahila Kosh. 2.4 Legislative Framework. Some important legislation is as following. 2.4.1 The Immoral Traffic Prevention Act, 1956. The Immoral Traffic Prevention Act, 1956, ITPA, is the premier legislation for prevention of trafficking for commercial sexual exploitation. It lays down stringent punishment for the perpetrators of the crime, such as, for keeping a brothel, living on the earnings of prostitution, procuring, inducing and taking persons for the sake of prostitution, detaining a person where prostitution is carried on, etc. The Act also provides for setting up of protective homes by the state governments. 2.4.2 The Dowry Prohibition Act, 1961. The culturally sanctioned practice of dowry and the resulting violence perpetrated on women is one of the single biggest forms of discrimination against women in India. According to the data available with the National Crime Records Bureau, 2009, there were 5,650 cases registered under the Dowry Prohibition Act, 1961 in 2009. 2.4.3 The Indecent Representation of Women, Prohibition Act, 1986, IRWA. The Indecent Representation of Women, Prohibition Act, 1986, IRWA, was enacted with the specific objective of prohibiting the indecent representation of women through advertisement, publication, writing, painting figures, or in any other manner. However, in view of the technological revolution and development of new forms of communication such as internet and satellite-based communication, it has become imperative to widen the scope of the law and strengthen existing safeguards for the prohibition of indecent representation of women. 2.4.4 The Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, 2005 provides civil remedies in the nature of protection orders, residence orders, maintenance, compensation and temporary custody orders to women facing domestic violence within the home. Recognizes and declares the right to reside in the shared household. Establishes a coordinated implementation mechanism to ensure women have access to and enjoy support services such as shelter, medical relief and legal assistance through appointment of protection officers, who are to act as the link between women and the courts on the one hand and women and Sub-011 services on the other. Registration of service providers and notification of medical facilities and shelter homes. 2.4.5 Protection of Women Against Sexual Harassment at Workplace Bill, 2010. The bill was introduced in Lok Sabha on 7th of December, 2010. It seeks to provide every woman, irrespective of her age or employment status, excluding domestic workers, a safe and secure environment free from sexual harassment by fixing responsibility on the employer and laying down a redressal mechanism. The bill has been referred to the Parliamentary Standing Committee (PSC) for consideration. The Protection of Women Against Sexual Harassment at Workplace Bill, 2010 aims at providing protection to women against sexual harassment at all workplaces both in the public and private sector, whether organized or unorganized, and for the prevention and redressal of complaints of sexual harassment. Covering women who are employed as well as those who enter the workplace as clients, customers or apprentices, besides the students and research scholars in colleges and universities and patients in hospitals. Laying down effective complaints and the redressal mechanisms in the form of internal and local complaints committees. You are listening to this audiobook on Audio Learning GNU 2.5. Let us sum up. The country is witnessing a major women's upsurge now. It is the result of the cumulative and interactive effect of the government, the women's movement and the civil society at various fronts over the last 3 decades. The factors like violence against women and girls and the sense of insecurity outside the household even today are hurdles for human development. Such details in the path of women are curse for humanity. Therefore, organized initiatives are required from every section of the society. The initiatives of governments are not sufficient to make aware the whole nation with the issues and problems related to women. As we have discussed in the unit, State has roped NGOs for the implementations of its policies and program. Today, non-governmental organizations are trying their level best to achieve the objectives related to women's awareness, dignity, security and development, etc. 2.6 Keywords. Empowerment. Empowerment is a process of awareness and capacity building leading to greater participation, greater decision-making power and control, and to transformative action. Sex. Sex identifies the biological differences between women and men and is generally determined. Thank you. We will see you in the next video.